Welcome to Deep Thought, projecting our issues. You know what? One of the things that people really have a problem with is introspection, really looking in themselves. Because we'll have issues. We have issues. But instead of looking at the issue within ourselves, we'll project them out to everybody else. Like you get somebody who likes calling people dumb and stupid, like they'll call everybody stupid or something. But that's really the issue they have with themselves. Or if they calling everybody ugly or whatever, that's the issue they have with themselves, or cheap. Because one thing, introspection is a powerful thing. That's one thing, and we live in a society that really promotes extroversion, and that's important. But sometimes the introvert or the introspective person, they can look at themselves and see, thus they're not projecting out their stuff. Because, see, the problem with projecting out our issues, we don't really deal with them. But we see them everywhere. We already see them. We know it. Our subconscious knows it. That's why we see it in other people. Because how they say it, someone once said, what we hate in others is really what we hate in ourselves. Now, from my personal perspective, I don't hate anything in others. I really don't. Even if I say, yeah, I hate that, but I really don't. Now, if I find myself being concerned about it, then I'll say, okay, what is it about me that sees that issue in them and it bothers me? Now, one issue, I'll share something about me. One issue that at one time I projected out was people not realizing their full potential. Like you see it all the time. You see somebody, they could be rich. They could be a cook. They could, you make money with food, or they could be a great speaker, or they have some great talent. And It was a while. I'd say probably 10 years ago. I would look at them and it's like, man, they ain't using their talent and all of that. But it wasn't their issue. Yeah, they weren't using their talent. Yeah, they were doing this and that. They weren't living to their full potential. But I had to catch myself. I had to be introspective and say, okay, why does that bother me? Oh, I'm not liking what I'm doing right now. I was working on a job that was way beneath my talents. Overall life wasn't where I wanted it to be. But I was, instead of dealing with the issue at the time, notice I said at the time, I was projecting it out until not only through introspection, but sometimes when people tell you stuff, just pay attention. And it tells you how they perceiving you or something. And somebody had to just hit me up. Just say, hey, Rom, you can be doing way. I've had a couple people tell me, man, you should be doing way better than this, man. You got some talent. And so I had to say, you know what? That's why it bothers me when I see other people not using their talent. I'm not using mine. That's not a problem now for me. That's not a problem. In fact, I'd be trying to think of new ways to do it. But when it was a problem, I was projecting it out instead of like looking at myself. Now, like I always say, I share that with people because just to understand, I always say I'm not a guru on top of a mountain. I'm going through this too. So when I learn something, I try to share it, But, it's like, hey, it's tough. It's tough. We project our issues because, I don't know, either through fear or arrogance. We don't feel like it's our issue, but yet it bothers us in other people when we see it. Like, that's one thing. And when I can listen to what somebody complains about or talks about, because it's often in them. Like, here's a great example. You ever see, like, you might see some men and women complaining about each other. Or, now, here's a great one. And I heard this from a marriage counselor. You get these people, he said you get some clients. And they in there talking trash. They say, well, this person do this and this person do that. And the marriage counselor was like, be sitting there like, well, y'all doing the same thing. Yeah, I got to say, in fact, he would be like, he's actually told some people, say, y'all should work it out. Nobody else going to put up with y'all. This particular marriage counselor had a tendency to be extremely blunt. But it was the same thing, but they were projecting their issues onto the other person. And that's one thing, and it's tough to do. Like, I don't do it as much now because I really work through that. That's because, like I said, that whole talent thing, when I see people doing it, meeting their talents, and it was bothering me, I was like, okay. Once I started dealing with it within myself, then I was like, oh, okay. And I still see it, but now instead of looking at them and saying they're not using their talents, I encourage them. Remember the podcast I did yesterday about the power of the word. So, and people who've hit me up privately, they'll say, I want to get into this. Go for it. Go for it. In fact, one of the greatest feelings I get is when people hit me up privately and say, hey, Rom, you inspired me to do this business or to get into this, to go back to school. And really that's coming from when I wasn't doing what I should have been doing. And that's powerful. And it's tough. It's tough because we do live in a world that makes it easy to blame them or they and say what they're doing. And, instead of facing ourselves, it's easy. It's easy. It's the blame game. It's easy to call somebody else lazy, but then you sitting right next to them. Say, yo, you just so lazy. Just like, wow. So, anyway, that's all I got to say about that. I'll get back with y'all later. Peace and many blessings.